Today, we are going to be talking about how to take a small YouTube channel and turn it into a big YouTube channel. Now, anybody can get lucky when it comes to YouTube with a viral video or a video that just does substantially better than the other videos on the channel, and it starts bringing in subscribers and views and things like that, and it can kind of paint the picture that things are heading in the right direction. However, if you want to have a big, sustainable channel that you can create for many years into the future, then you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the information that I'm getting ready to share with you, because it's going to help you do exactly that, where you're not going to have to depend on luck. You're not going to have to cross your fingers and hope that the videos that you publish are going to do well. You're going to be able to start making content that is with more intention, that is going to perform better on YouTube. And you're also going to get very clear on exactly what it is that you need to do and how it is that you need to do it. And we're starting right now, but I do want to let you know that this whole thing that we're getting ready to talk about, it's not going to be easy, but it is effective, and it's what it takes. If you are somebody that is serious about this and you're wanting to take your channel from something that is, just kind of struggling along, or maybe you are just starting or you're considering starting a channel, all of the information that I'm getting ready to share with you is going to help you excel at this, okay? So the very first things that we're going to talk about are some basics to prime you for the rest of the information that we're going to share, and to go ahead and just put some things to rest that you might have in your mind as a smaller or a newer content creator on YouTube. So the very first thing that's important when it comes to growing a bigger channel, obviously, is consistency. Now, you're going to see a lot of different types of content. We'll talk about consistency when it comes to, a lot of different creators will talk about consistency when it comes to YouTube, and some people will discount it, and they'll say that, consistency isn't important. They'll say that, as long as you publish good videos, that everything will be fine. And that's great, but I've been doing this for 9 years, and one thing that I can tell you is that if you're not consistent, it does negatively impact the channel. In fact, YouTube themselves, you can find this information in their Google help pages. YouTube says, when people ask the question, why is my channel getting less traffic from home or suggested videos? YouTube says specifically that one of the reasons is that you're simply uploading less frequently than usual. They also have similar information. Excuse me. They also have similar information about search, where people's search rankings will start dropping based on them just not, plugging stuff into the platform and not having, people interacting with their content that much. So even though it doesn't completely decimate the channel, it can create more work for you if you are not consistent. So because of that, it's important to be consistent, and not just for the platform, but if you want to have a big channel, you got to work this stuff into your lifestyle, right? You have to work the process of ideation, creating the content and uploading the content and interacting with your community into your lifestyle, so that you can ensure that you can do it physically for a long period of time as well, and that you can, as your channel grows, that you can have it all built in so you can handle things as all of the extra stuff starts happening to you as you start having a larger YouTube channel. The next thing I want to talk about is quality versus quantity. This is another really big question for content creators. Is they're like, okay, do I just upload a bunch of, stuff, or do I focus on making the best videos that I can? The answer is yes. So when it comes to quality, quality is actually determined by the viewers. That's why you see some content to where when you look at it, by your eyes, it's like, hey, I have no idea why this video is doing way better than mine. It completely sucks. However, the viewers of the platform, since they're the ones who decide what quality is, they have responded to that video in a positive way, which then has caused that video, even though maybe from a technical standpoint, it's not quality, but in terms of the viewer experience, it is quality, okay? So when it comes to quality, you can make videos with just your phone, with no additional microphone. I mean, of course, if you improve those types of things, it can help you perform better. But you can make videos just on your phone, just like outside walking down the street, and you can do okay as long as people respond well to the content. But there's a lot that goes into that. But just as one example, I have a friend of mine. He grew his YouTube channel to over 100,000 subscribers in 10 months, walking around, just talking to his phone, just like I was talking about. So The reason he was able to do that is he's really good on camera. He understands that he was serving an audience, and he also understands some of the other things that we're going to be talking about here today as well. So I wanted to get those two things out of the way for you because those are huge when it comes to, questions that content creators have in terms of consistency and quality over quantity. And I do want to let you know that just uploading stuff to YouTube and flooding the platform, that used to work many, many years ago. But now that's just not it anymore. You have to make content. Like it doesn't matter how many videos you upload. If they're not videos that people respond to, it's not going to just magically make the videos do better, right? And as another part of this, one of the things that I also want to let you know when it comes to uploading content and trying to make it as good as you can is that building for the future is important, because sometimes old videos take off. And this happens so often that YouTube has additional information, or Google has additional information just about this question. But they say that it's common for viewers to start showing more interest in old videos. So once somebody comes into your content, as you start building out your library, if you're making quality stuff, then what's going to happen is YouTube is going to start recommending some of your older content to some of those people that are interacting with that newer content. Some of those people are going to come in and start watching it. But what they're saying right here is that new viewers are discovering your channel and binging your old videos. So because of that, this is another reason why it's important to make sure that you're focusing on quality in terms of the viewer experience instead of just flooding the platform. But you do want to make sure that you are consistent. Okay. So as we get into this, we're going to get into the good stuff now. But if you have clear goals about what it is that you're trying to do, obviously framing everything that we're going to be talking about here for the rest of this is going to be the move, right? If you don't have goals for what you're trying to accomplish, if you want a big channel, I recommend finding some goals because it will make all the decisions along the way a lot easier. And you're going to get offered all kinds of different opportunities in terms of collaborations and brand deals and, all these other things that, will come your way. And when you have clear goals on what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your YouTube channel and what it is that you get out of it, then that helps decide on those opportunities that you take and the opportunities that you decline. So if you do have goals around what it is that you're doing, it's super helpful, and it kind of puts you ahead of the pack, because then you can make decisions based around your goals instead of just making decisions based around like, hey, I'm just trying to get more views on my videos, right? Which is kind of a hollow thing. Another thing when it comes to goals is that you're going to just track things that actually matter, right? Instead of those vanity metrics that I was talking about. But if you're already making content, if you have goals or not, if you're already making content about something that you enjoy, it's important to understand, and this is, one of the key things when it comes to YouTube, is it's important to understand who you're serving with your content. So when we upload content to YouTube and we upload content that we like, right? Because we're making stuff that we want to make. We're, playing the games we want to play. We're talking about the topics we want to play. We're sharing parts of our lives that we want to share. Like we're taking what we want and then we're putting it out onto YouTube. But the big separation that a lot of people don't think of is if you're taking what you want and you put it onto YouTube, well, it's important to do it in a way that other people can also enjoy if you want those other people to interact with your content and have a good experience with it so that you can, grow your channel. So because of that, it's really important to get clear on who it is that you're targeting with your content. So for example, are you making, if you're making food videos, are you making videos for foodies? Are you making videos for people that are just trying to find, quick meals that they can make for their families? That's two totally different types of people. So if you're making food content, yes, you could serve everybody with the food content, or you can say, hey, I'm just going after the people that are looking for like quick and cheap meals. And then everything on your channel becomes a resource for the type of person that is always looking for quick and cheap meals, right? So that's the whole idea. Same thing with, travel content. Are you making travel content that serves people that are living there? Or are you making travel content that serves people that are considering going there? Or are you making travel content for the people that are just going to live through you vicariously because they can't travel, right? When you understand those types of things, it makes your content a lot more impactful, and it makes all the decisions that you make around your content much bigger and much more impactful again, because and you can confirm that every video that you publish is going to be a great fit for that type of viewer. Okay. Same thing, because I'm sure we probably have a lot of gamers in here because there's always a lot of gamers. So, same exact thing. You're trying to connect with people that are interested in like those certain types of games, right? So when you know that, then another thing that you can think about is, okay, if they're interested in these games, am I trying to make content for people that like watching people play games? Or am I trying to make content for people that are wanting to improve on the game themselves, but maybe they don't really like watching other people play games because they're too busy playing games? When you add just those little layers of clarity, it can make a really big difference on the overall impact of your channel. And then, of course, when it comes to defining who it is that you are after with your content in terms of who you're targeting, it's also important to go deeper, right? Where do they live? Ballpark, how old are the people that you're trying to reach? What are their interests, their values, their lifestyle? For example, if you're a content creator that targets single, parents, then the approach that you take with your content and maybe even the time that you publish it is going to be different than somebody that is publishing gaming content, for example. What type of content do they prefer? Is it, content that's more funny? Is it content that's a little bit more serious or professional? Do they like more of a lighthearted tone? Are they like laid back people? Those types of things are really important to get under control and to understand about the people that you're trying to reach. Also knowing what type of content that they prefer in terms of the format. Right? Are you going to find them in the short shelf? Are you going to find them in your live streams? One of the questions that I get asked a lot, because my channel is it's like the TubeBuddy channel where it's just filled with content that helps you understand YouTube better. And one of the things that people will ask me is like, hey, should I live stream on my channel? Well, I don't know. Are people in your niche live streaming? Like, do you think that your viewers would be interested in live streaming? Like, do you think they would be interested in hanging out with you? If so, then, what value you're going to provide through your live stream. But, when you can start to understand the content they prefer, then you can also make choices around that. YouTube also gives us information now on our YouTube analytics that lets us know with our viewers the content they typically engage with the most. And you can even use that to your advantage as well to dig up this information on the content that you're already putting out. Another thing that's really helpful for you is thinking about, Jeffrey James says YouTube is a crazy mind game. It is indeed. But another thing too is where do they hang out online? Because if you know who you're trying to reach, then you can figure out where they're hanging out online, and then you can go there and you can look for video ideas. You can go in there and start interacting with that community. You can ask them questions about things, about videos that you're putting together. You can look for things that they commonly talk about. You can look for upcoming things or upcoming trends in that particular niche. When you start hanging out in those communities, it can give you tons of insights into those people so you can make better content to serve them. Even little details like, is there any type of insider language within this community? Those types of things are also powerful, because if you pick that up and then you start using that insider language in your content, then as soon as somebody comes into your video, they can immediately identify that you're really into that thing because you understand that nuance, right? That's all of these things are why it's so important to understand, who it is that you're trying to reach. Also, are they coupled? Are they single? Are they married? What keeps them up at night? Like, what type of concerns do they have? That type of stuff, right? We're just really dig in and try to think like, who is it that I'm actually serving here with my content? And as soon as you start asking yourself those questions, then once you identify that person or group of people that you're trying to reach, then it helps make everything else that you're doing a lot more clear. And then you can say, hey, if I am going to publish a video, is this going to be a great fit for that person or that group? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, I'm going to do this. No, then I'm not going to put it on the channel. But you can use subreddits to help uncover this information. You can use Discord groups, Facebook groups, your comments from competitor videos, those types of things to start getting a little bit of a better understanding and the nuance of the people that you're trying to reach. Next, you want to define and understand what you're creating. Your niche is what I'm talking about. So a lot of new content creators, when they start, they have this idea on, like, they say things like, well, I just want to be the niche. And that's cool. I understand that. But if you're wanting to take your small channel and turn it into a big channel, then you need bait, right? Because the whole idea is, if you want to be the niche, then in that particular case, you can be, but you need to make something that will cause people to interact with you so that they can get to know you so that you can become the niche, right? So if you are just starting out and you have a small channel, nobody knows who you are yet, then you got to make something that's going to introduce people to you. And the best thing that you can do there is pick that target group that you're trying to go after and say, okay, I'm going to serve these people. And then when you are serving those people and you're going after that particular group, then the topics that you choose to make videos about for that group are going to be the bait. And then as they click on those topics and they come in and they start enjoying the value that you provide to them, that is how you introduce them to you, so that down the road, if you want to start experimenting with doing some more content, that's more diverse in nature in terms of all your different interests and stuff, you have a real audience and a real core audience that will support that content as well. But when you're first getting started, you're literally rolling a big, humongous boulder up a very steep mountain when you are trying to make yourself the niche right out of the gate. And it's also important to know that, everybody has a lot of interests, right? So just having a lot of interests doesn't make you unique in some way or anything like that. Every human being has, different things that they're interested in. So because of that, it's just best to use the bait to get yourself in front of people, and then down the road, experiment with, pivoting into content that's more, about you, where you can be more of the niche. So when you are trying to better understand your niche, some things that you want to look into, and write this down. I recommend that you take notes on everything it is that I'm telling you here, because as I'm saying it, this is all coming out kind of quick. Of course, this is going to be available here on the replay, so you're going to be able to watch it later, but I really recommend that you do take notes. But what you want to look for is you want to look for the top channels in your niche. If you want to get big, look for the top channels in your niche, figure out who they are. Look at what their thumbnails look like. Look at how they structure their videos. Look at what formats they publish the most and what formats they don't publish at all. And look for consistency between the different content creators that are pretty much running your space. In addition to that, what themes do they use? Like, are they doing like interviews? Are they teaching stuff? Are they doing ride-alongs? Are they doing interviews? Like, what exactly is it that they offer that everybody seems to respond the most to? So when you start looking into your competitors, then that will give you a better understanding of how the people, the viewers, are responding to different things that they are doing, because they've already kind of, they've taken their machete and they've already cut through the jungle trying to, get to, that good place, so to speak. And all you get to do, because they've already done that hard work, is you can just hop in and just walk that path that they've already kind of, cut out for you, to better understand what the people that you're trying to reach care about, okay? And how they care about it and how they respond to different things. But when you are trying to understand your niche, of course, understanding who you're trying to reach, that first thing that we were talking about, is going to be a big part of that. But what you want to do is you want to take what it is that you're going to offer on your YouTube channel, and you want to define it. And you define it through something called a value proposition. Now, value proposition is essentially the value that it's a statement of value, or the value that you're going to provide to the people that are interacting with your content. For example, my value proposition is I help creators thrive on YouTube, right? And by doing that, I can just simply say, if somebody asks me, hey, what do you do? I can say, oh, I help creators thrive on YouTube. Or, hey, I have a YouTube channel. Oh, what do you do on your YouTube channel? Oh, I help creators thrive on YouTube. Everything that I do, publicly, is about helping content creators thrive on YouTube. And because I've put that into a value proposition, and because that's my niche, I've become known for that, right? So when you are creating content around a niche, then it gives you, and you're just doing reps essentially in that niche. You're repeatedly interacting in that niche by publishing content in that niche. And then you are being clear about what it is that you offer, so that as people are interacting with your content, they can come into it, they can understand what it is that you do, then they can subscribe to your channel, and then your channel can become a resource for those people. Okay, that's the idea. So now you understand what you're targeting, or who you're targeting, and the content that you're targeting them with. So next, ask yourself, when coming up with topics, would the person that I am targeting enjoy this? If so, then make the video. If not, of course, then don't. So the next problem is, how do you get your videos in front of these people that you are targeting, right? Hey, Shelly, what's going on? How do you get your videos in front of the people that you're targeting? And I know that that's a big thing that everybody here is trying to do. If you know who it is that you're targeting or not, trying to get your videos in front of more people. So there's two approaches that you can take. So the very first approach is that you can make what you think your target viewer likes, okay? Doing that is perfectly fine. It'll get you there. You might have a lot more stumbling that you do along the way, but you can take that path. It's usually slower unless you're really tuned into that niche. Like, let's say, for example, you are somebody that starts playing, like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, or just some like old school game, and you've just been passionate about it your whole life. And when you make videos about it, like it's clear that you know everything about the game and that you're an enthusiast and all of that, people will connect with that, right? And you'll probably know the things that people want to know about. You'll know the struggles they have, the challenges they have. You'll know what entertains them, all of those types of things that you can leverage because you're just so in tune. But for most people, they're not in tune, okay? They're not that in tune with the niche, especially when they're just getting started with it. So because of that, the second approach is to make what you know your target viewer would like. That's the best approach. So how do you do this? So if your channel isn't growing with that first approach, here's what you need to do. So first, the goal for this recommendation is to find a way to make something unique out of the things that you can prove that people are interested in, okay? So step number one is to research other channels like yours, big and small, and look for content that has performed well for them in the last 6 months. Okay, that's step number one. You want to look for consistent performance of topics across channels in your niche. You want to look for any gaps in what they've already created that you can fill. Okay, because when you're looking at their channels, you're going to see, okay, when they publish videos about these types of things, they typically get more views, they typically get more comments, they typically get more likes on these. So because of that, is there anything that within this topic that these channels aren't covering yet, that nobody's like really thought of doing yet? Is there anything that I can do to where I can talk about similar things, but I can do it in a unique way, or I can present it in a different style or something like that? But you want to look for consistent performance of topics across the channels in your niche. You want to look for any gaps that they've created that you can fill, or that they haven't filled that you can fill. And if you can't see gaps, you want to look for ways that you can make a better video on the same topic if it interests you. And the reason that I say the same topic, immediately there's going to be some people here that are going to say, well, I don't want to just make the same videos that everybody else is making. I totally support that, right? Because that's kind of like, hey, how creative are you being if you're just kind of rinsing and repeating what everybody else is doing? That's cool. However, if you are wanting to make content that you know for a fact that people are interested in, then a lot of that content's been made, right? So because of that, that's why you look at it and you say, okay, well, I'm into this thing, right? That's why I make content about it. And there's like 100 gazillion channels talking about the same exact thing. And since there's 100 gazillion channels talking about the same thing, we're probably going to talk about a lot of the same things, right? That's kind of how it works on YouTube. So the only real unique stuff is like either if you introduce a new niche, you mash up a couple of niches, or if you're putting out music, right? Because music's always, original to an extent. But when you are in that situation where you can't see any gaps, and if you can make a better video than the videos of other people in your space, even if they have really big channels, then that is a way to make something that you know for a fact that people have been interested in, okay? So things that you can do is you can start it differently. You can go deeper than they did. You can make it faster. So like, let's say somebody has a video in your niche, and that particular video, and we're just gonna say cooking, we'll do that one. So let's say that in your niche for the people that you're targeting, let's say everybody's videos are typically, 20 minutes long and they're doing recipes. In your case, maybe your way in to that niche and your way to add value to the people that are interacting with that content is to make similar topics, but make them super fast. So they come in the video, it's like, okay, first do this, first do this, first do this, then do this, then do this. And you just make it super fast compared to like, okay, and then we're going to go over and we're going to put it in the oven. And then we're going to set the timer on the oven to this and this. And you know what I mean? To where you just do it in a lot, faster, punchier way to get people through it. And that could be the way that you stand out, right? Because it's really easy to be invisible on YouTube by just repeating what everybody else is doing. So you got to find a way to stand out. But other things that you can do is you can come up with a different theme or a style for the same, concept. So for example, since you're watching me here on the TubeBuddy channel, by the way, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Nim, and I teach people how to grow their YouTube channels and just everything about YouTube. I help creators thrive, on YouTube. But there's somebody in my niche that came in, and we're all doing similar things. So when I came into it, I changed it a little bit because it was like the YouTube help space was kind of stiff, and like everybody was like, just kind of, it felt kind of coachy. Right. I came into it with the approach like, hey, I'm a creator and I'm helping creators here. So I'm going to, add some creative stuff to my videos. I'm going to make my set pop. I'm going to, like here, it's not this way. But at that time, I had like, blue lights in the background and stuff. And I was the first person in the space to start doing that sort of thing. And, just kind of helped me stand out. Right. My presentation style at the time was completely different. I was doing this thing where I was like, jumping all over the screen, when I was doing my, presentation, those types of things. And I was just giving everything. So a lot of the people in the space at that time, as helpful as they were, because they were super helpful, but they would also kind of hold back information. And it was kind of, like, oh, okay, well, they're trying to get me, to hire them or whatever the thing is. But me, I was like, hey, I'm just telling people what they want to know. And that was another thing that, that helped me stand out is, where other people were being protective of information, I was just like, hey, this is exactly how you do this. And people appreciated it, and it helped me stand out. So when it comes to, different themes and concepts and just doing things differently, it can be those sorts of things. And another thing in my space also, and I'm going to assume that some of you are already familiar with this channel, but after a period of time, we all started kind of doing things in a similar way. And then Ed from Film Booth came along, and he started doing like really high level storytelling with his content. And with that, he was doing like, much higher production and things like that. And that helped him stand out in the space, right? So when it comes to, your space, you got to find those things that will help you stand out, because if you don't, it's really easy to just blend in with everybody, and then you can stay a small channel for a really long time, or it can be really difficult to get you moving. But I'm going to move on here so we can make sure to have time to get through everything plus the Q&A. But when it comes to finding things that that you can prove that people are interested in, another thing that you can do is you can go to the YouTube autocomplete. So basically you just go to the top of YouTube search and you just start typing in things around the niche that you are in. And when you do that, YouTube is going to start recommending you searches based around other things that people have searched for. So what you want to do is you want to go through and you want to start clicking on each one of those, and you want to start getting an understanding of like, okay, how are the videos performing for each one of these terms? Or are these things that people are interested in, or is it just a few people making these searches? You can also use TubeBuddy's Keyword Explorer, where you can drop it directly into that. And then it will actually show you like, hey, this is how much people are searching for it. This is how competitive it is. This is how optimized they are for, those search phrases, things like that. And it can also give you better insights in terms of, content that, is proven not only to be of interest to people, but also content that people are actively looking for, right? That doesn't mean you have to target search with it, which we're going to get into that whole thing in a minute. But it doesn't mean you have to target search with it. It just means that it informs you that people are actively looking for this, which means that if you publish a video about that topic, as long as that video performs well, then some of those people that have recently searched for that are going to get recommended that video, right? So it's that big picture that you're going after there. But you can also use trends.google.com to uncover trending topics in some niches. This doesn't work for everything, but for a lot of niches like gaming and, those types of things, even recipes, like we have a cooking channel, that kind of stuff. Google Trends is also good for that, looking for tentpole events. So for example, around the holidays, people looking for specific things and, how to make, a turkey at Thanksgiving and, that kind of stuff, which is coming up here around the corner. You'll see spikes in those historically, if you go into Google Trends, of people looking for that information. So when those types of things are coming, then you can also prepare for them, right? Because again, you're proving that people are interested in what it is that you're publishing, okay? Next, you can also pull out what you want from groups that you're a part of that I mentioned earlier. So if you're in Facebook groups, Discords, subreddits, things like that, you can also, just kind of get an idea of what things, people are interested in there, and things that, you anticipate that would perform well based on your involvement in those communities. But while doing this research on your competitors and figuring out the content that is, proven to be of interest to the people that you're trying to reach, the next thing that you want to make sure that you're doing while you're doing that research is also on the successful creators in your space. While you're looking at their content, pay really close attention to how they're starting their videos, to how they're ending their videos, how they're keeping people engaged, their thumbnail style, the imagery that they typically use in their thumbnails. Are they typically using text in their thumbnails? Yes or no? Are they typically doing 2-panel thumbnails, 1-panel thumbnails, 3-panel thumbnails? Are they doing like full-blown grids like they do in some fashion content? Like, how are they putting things together so that you can see like, okay, this is what they figured out that people are responding to. So let me experiment with some of that and see if people will respond to it when I do it too. Okay. But also look for their title structures, right? Like how are they actually grabbing people's attention, and how are they compelling people to click on what it is that they're doing? Are they using keywords in their titles? Are they just using open curiosity for their titles? Like what is it that they're doing with their titles? You also want to look for the general topics they talk about more than others. You want to pay attention to how they address their viewers, right? So typically on YouTube, if you address your viewers as you, that they will stick around more than if you use "Hey guys," right? So when you notice things like that, some of them will, have squad names that they use or community names, like we have the Niminati, but I don't start my videos like, "Hey Niminati, what's going on?" Like, instead I just get people, into the content. But some content creators and some communities love that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to how they address their viewers in the content. Note anything that stands out about them so that you can say like, okay, these are things that stands out about them. And then if you start doing that across other creators in your niche, then you can say, okay, these are all the different things that kind of help these content creators stand out and make them memorable. So what can I do? Because you start training your brain to look for those things. So it's like, okay, what am I doing? Let me watch one of my videos and see if I'm doing any of these things, or see if I'm doing anything to stand out. And if not, what could I do? Right? You start asking yourself the more important questions instead of how can I get views? It's like, how can I make myself memorable? So when people are watching my content, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is something fresh. This is something new. I love the way they do this, or I love how they, play this, or I love how they react when this happens in their games, or, whatever. I love how they talk about the food they're making, those types of things. You want to look for recurring themes, and you just literally want to study them, right? And when you study the people that are running your niche, then what's going to happen is it's going to arm you with tons of information about what works in the niche. It's also going to arm you with tons of information about what helps those creators stand out and what makes them, essentially magnetic for their communities. Next, you want to start using the information that you gathered from what we just covered, and you want to write down content that you would like to publish over the next 30 to 90 days. First, and I know this sounds like a big thing, but like I said at the very beginning, part of this is it's not going to be easy, but it's what it takes, okay? If you don't want to rely on luck and you want to make this happen so that it can happen on your timeline, instead of just waiting for something, magically to all of a sudden start happening with the content, these are, some of the things that you need to do. But write down content that you would like to publish over the next 30 to 90 days. First, write the topic. Then think. You don't have to write the title yet. We're going to get there in a second. But first, write down the topic. So what you would do is you would say, okay, I'm going to write down, let's say you publish a video a week over the next 30 days. Then that would give you 12 over the next 90 days. But we're just going to focus on the first 30 for right now. So you would say, okay, out of all the research that I've done, I'm going to make these, I would like to make these 4 videos over the next 30 days that I have proven that is something that people are interested in based on the research that we just talked about. So now what you want to do is you want to think of how you, once you have those topics down, you want to think for those 4 videos or those 12 videos, how am I going to package this up? How am I going to present this from the outside so that the people that I'm trying to reach with this content are going to be able to identify this and that they'll be compelled to click on it and come in and enjoy the content? So for all of the topics that you're going to be writing or that you're going to be covering over the next 30 to 90 days, you want to write a title for them as well. And you want to make a mock thumbnail that you will use for them. And the reason that you're going to do this first before you make the video content is because this is going to help you ensure that one, you've done the research and you've proven that people are interested in these things. But next, you're going to ensure through thinking about the title and the thumbnail before you decide to actually create the video, you're going to ensure that you're going to be able to package it up in a way that's going to make sense from the outside in terms of somebody just seeing your content on a homepage or in search or wherever they run into it, to where when they see it, they're going to know that it's something for them and they're going to be able to click on it, come in. And then because you've pre-planned the title and the thumbnail, you've also pre-planned the expectation that people are going to get or that they're going to have when they enter your content. So then what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to say, okay, this is the title I'm going to use and this is the thumbnail I'm going to use. What expectations is this going to create? And then when you go to make the actual video content itself, then you can say, okay, what are the first things that I can say if this is what they're expecting? So if they're expecting this, when they first come into this video, what can I say or show that is going to make them think like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for, right? That's the reason you want to do all that stuff up front. But the reason, again, that you want to do this up front is you want to give yourself the highest probability of presenting the content from the outside in a way that will help your target viewer identify it as something that they might be interested in. And in order to create the best possible experience for your viewers, you want to make sure that the video content is accurately represented by the thumbnail and the title. And the best way to do that is by doing your thumbnail and title first, so you can make sure that you're meeting that expectation. So always think of your thumbnail and title before you make the video. This by itself has helped content creators perform better on the platform. So one thing really quick that Paris Itohan says you can hardly grow with non-searchable videos. That's not true at all. So the fastest growth on YouTube, and this is really important for everybody to know. So if you want to grow your channel really fast, you have to get really good at pulling viewership from YouTube's recommendation features. YouTube's recommendation features are where all the traffic is on YouTube. That's where all the views come from. You have some views that come from YouTube search, but most of the activity on YouTube, it comes from YouTube's homepage and it comes from YouTube suggested videos, which means it comes from YouTube recommending your content to people. So if you are currently, Paris, if you are currently not, getting very far with videos that are not targeted towards search, what that means is that you just have to work on learning how to grab people's attention and give them quality content from the homepage when they're not expecting to watch your content. So, and I actually mentioned this here in just a minute, but basically I'll jump into it real quick. When it comes to YouTube search is like a low-hanging fruit. It's easy because the people that are looking for your video, they're expecting to see your video. Like they're physically looking for the video that you've published. So when they land on those search results, if your video is there and it matches the query for that term, then in that particular case, as a matter of fact, I've got a screenshot of this. If that video, because it says how are videos ranked in search, how well the title, description, and video content match the viewer search, and what videos drive the most engagement for a search. So as long as your video is meeting those qualifying factors, then if somebody looks for it, bam, they are going to, they're going to click on, your video or another person's video there in search because they're looking for that information. The skill that you need to develop if you want to grow your channel fast, search is really stable, right? It's stable and it's easy. But if you want to grow your channel fast, you got to learn how to grab people's attention off of homepages and suggested videos when they're not expecting to watch your videos. When they log onto YouTube expecting to see something else and then they see your video and you can still pull them in and give them a great experience in your video content. If you can get really good at that, your channel will blow up. You'll do awesome. But if you can't, then in that case, you're going to have to keep getting the slower growth, which is still good. But you can, because you're still growing, but you'll get the slower growth in YouTube search, but it's consistent, which is good. But let's see here. So outside, best experience for your viewers. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, so when considering your thumbnails, so we're going to move on to thumbnails now because we're talking about, packaging up your video. So when you are making your thumbnails, ask yourself these questions. And again, this is when you already understand what it is the niche that you're operating in, and you already understand who it is that you're targeting with your content. So the first thing is, what can I focus on in this thumbnail that will help my target viewer know that this is something they might be interested in at a glance? That at a glance part's really important, because how many people here, and you can just say me in the chat, but how many people here, like, you're on your phone, you're just sitting there like scrolling like, yeah, okay, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, right? How many people are doing that? You can either just say yes, or you can hit the heart, whatever. But the thing with that is, people aren't analyzing everything that they see with every image that they see on YouTube. Same thing with home pages, suggested videos. Like, people aren't sitting there like looking into the fine details of everything. People are scrolling and things are grabbing their attention at a glance. The thumbnails are. So what you need to do is you need to think, okay, if I'm making a thumbnail for this, because a lot of new channels, they will just cover their thumbnails in a bunch of stuff for the sake of doing it. Things will be lopsided and wonky. But the thing that you want to think about when you're making your thumbnails is, what about this thumbnail? What one thing in this thumbnail can I focus on that will help the viewers that I'm trying to reach understand that this is something that they might be interested in, right? Ask yourself that question with every thumbnail that you make. In addition to that, you want to ask yourself, is there anything in this thumb idea that would distract the viewer from seeing the thing that I'm trying to get them to focus on? So, for example, a lot of content creators will focus on themselves, right? That'll be the main focus of the thumbnail. That can be effective because people do respond to other people in thumbnails, but not always. So let's say that you're a gaming creator. How many gamers do we have in here? If you're a gamer, just say me. But if you're a gaming creator and you're putting yourself in thumbnails and nobody, knows anything about your channel yet, what I recommend that you do is, instead of focusing it on you, is start focusing it on characters from the games that you play, and have just one focused character, and then that just really stands out. Make that character stand out. And then around that, if you want to put some subtle things that don't distract the colors within those other things that you're using, don't pull the eye away from that, core character that you are, trying to bring attention to. If you do that and you focus on those characters, then that's going to help the other people that are interested in that game identify quickly that it's about the game without being distracted by you in the thumbnail. Okay. So this applies across all genres of content also. So if you're publishing videos and, and you're just like, man, I can't get people to click on what it is that I'm doing, start defining, what is it about this thumbnail that's going to help the people that I'm trying to reach identify that this is something they care about. And you want to make sure that thing is big enough that they can see it if it's only this big, or if it's only this big and suggested videos on a computer, and in some places like your channel page and things like that on a mobile device, right? So you want to make sure you're doing that. In addition to that, when you're writing your titles, you want to ask yourself, why is this title compelling? What about this title would cause the people that I'm trying to reach to click on this? Okay, that's number one. Number two is, does my title have a keyword? Now, the keyword isn't for search. The keyword is to help the people that you're trying to reach know quickly at a glance that that video has something to do with what it is that they care about. This isn't required, but it's helpful. Another thing with the keyword in your title is it's also helpful for, like, YouTube's system, when it's looking at content to recommend to people, it's looking at the video content itself, right? Hey, Stanley, what's going on, dude? It's looking at the video content itself, and it's pulling information from what it sees and from the captions that are being transcribed and the transcript, right? So it's basically pulling all that information together. It's also looking at the title and the words that are in the title. It's looking at the imagery for the thumbnail, and it's also looking at the top part of your description as well. So because of that, when you put a keyword in your title, especially if you're new, this will help the system just have one more thing about your content to better understand who it should recommend it to based on that particular keyword. So the idea is to write the title in a natural language and make it compelling, but also include a keyword. That's just helpful for the system, and that can also help you, in search and, those types of things as well. But with a keyword, it's not required though, right? Because again, if you want all the traffic, or if you want to, play ball where all the viewers are hanging out, then in that particular case, you do want to make sure that you are making some content that is targeted specifically for recommendations. And we're going to talk about how to do that here in a minute. But You also want to think about, is the thing that will grab the viewer's attention with my title visible in the first 52, 53 characters? The reason you want to think about this is because YouTube truncates titles in different places on the platform, and you want to make sure that the thing that would be important to the viewer to either understand what the video might be about or to compel them to click, you want to make sure that that's visible within that first part of the title. And the reason for that is because let's say that you have a video showing up in suggested videos, and that video, let's say the thumbnail, because it's pretty small. So let's say the thumbnail itself is, it's kind of expressing the idea, but it doesn't add tons of clarity, but it grabs their attention and lets them know, hey, this is about something I care about. Their eyes drop down to read the server, or to read the server. I just saw that thing with Discord, but their eye drops down to read the title. And when their eyes drop down to read the title, can they clearly understand what that video is going to be about within that first 52 characters? If not, then they're not going to click on it. So because of that, you want to make sure that the important stuff that's going to help the viewer better understand what that video might be about is within that first 52 characters. Next, let's see here. Title, 52 characters. Okay, then you want to look at them together and ask these questions. Am I repeating anything in my thumbnail and title? So for example, if I say the best boat tours in London, in my title, do I also have the best boat tours in London in my thumbnail? If the answer is yes, change one of them. And the reason for that is because the thumbnail and the title and the topic, they all work together as a team to win the click. So since they work together as a team to win the click, you want to make sure that you're using them all together, not looking at them only independently, but also looking at them from the view of like, okay, if my thumbnail, and just think it through like a viewer because you watch YouTube too, if my thumbnail grabs somebody's attention and they go and read the title, what about this title is going to, compel them? And if I'm just repeating the same thing, then I'm kind of missing an opportunity here to make this a lot more impactful. So because of that, let me make sure that I'm putting something different in my thumbnail than I am putting in my title so that I can make this as compelling as possible, right? That's the idea. Also, since my thumb is going to grab their attention, how does the info in the thumb support the title and vice versa, right? Like, how do they work together? You want to make sure you're considering that as well. Also, what exactly, and you want to ask yourself this question as well, what exactly about this thumbnail and title combination do I think will grab the viewer's attention that I'm trying to reach and cause them to click? If you can't answer that question, keep working on it. Keep workshopping the thumbnail, keep workshopping the title until you can define those things. If you can just get good at that by itself is going to massively increase the amount of clicks that you're getting on your videos. It's going to increase your click-through rate. It might not necessarily help with the video content itself because that's a whole other thing, which we're going to talk about that too, but it will help in terms of the amount of clicks that you're getting per impression on your videos. So the next thing to consider about your topics and how you're packaging is you can be strategic about where you want the traffic to come from. So like I was talking about before, in terms of recommendation being the powerhouse when it comes to traffic, that's how you can grow your channel the fastest. Search is stable and it's easier, but recommendations, it does require higher performance and it does require, more skills. So you can optimize for different traffic sources, right? So the approach here is just to kind of put this into context again, recommendations is fast growth. If you think of the tale of like rabbit and the hare, right? Or not rabbit and the hare, those are the same thing. Turtle and the hare, I think it is. But you have the rabbit, which, just races down there and gets down there and then they're exhausted at the end. And then you have the turtle that just kind of, does his own pace, but, still finishes the race, sometimes beats out the rabbit. So when you are looking at recommendations, it's the fast growth, right? It's the rabbit. But with recommendations, just so you're informed, it can fluctuate wildly. And it can also just start cruising and then just die. That also happens. It can also just keep going for a long time. But it requires a stronger skill set of knowing how to get people to click when they're not expecting to watch your content, like we talked about before. Search, it can be fast, but it's slower, but it's rock solid consistent, right? The turtle. It's also easier to get people to click and be satisfied with the video content because you are simply making what people are searching for in your niche. So all you have to do is deliver on that promise of the thumbnail and title and you're in, right? In terms of satisfaction there. But both of these can have a purpose, and depending on your content type and the goals, they need to be considered for your content strategy. But when it comes to targeting different traffic sources, another thing to consider is that when it comes to search, like how-tos, reviews, guides, list videos, you know, those types of things are great for search. When it comes to recommendations, those will still get recommended. But when it comes to recommendations, if you're optimizing for it, that's where you would want to, you know, have titles that maybe they're just a little bit more vague. It's still targeted towards your audience. The thumbnail's still clear that it's for that audience and all of that. But maybe the title is just a little bit more vague, or it creates some type of curiosity. Let's say you have a lot more emotion in your thumbnails because you're trying to grab that attention and trying to get people to come in. So those types of things are better for recommendations. But again, remember that search targeted videos also get recommended on YouTube. And through different content framing, you can also make a big difference as well. This is another reason that it's important to make sure that when you are coming up with your ideas for your video, that you are thinking, okay, how am I going to write a title for this? And how am I going to make a thumbnail for this before you make the video? Because this can also be impactful for what it is that you're targeting. So for example, I'll just use this, but if there was a thumbnail, it's just like me holding this hard drive, you know, just kind of like a, you know, surprised face or whatever. Then in that particular case, when the viewer drops down to that title, it could say something like, I can't believe this small hard drive holds so much, or, you know, something like that. It would tighten it up a little bit, but anyway, can't believe this hard drive holds so much, something like that. So people that are looking for hard drives, that kind of stuff, they'd be like, oh, I wonder what it is. I wonder if it's some new hard drive, blah, blah, blah. And then they would click in and they would come in. That's recommendation focused. However, search focused is you would frame or package the whole thing more about, you know, maybe for search, it would just be a photo of the hard drive. And then that particular thing might be a review of the product, right? Like, you know, I think it's a SanDisk. Yeah. So it's like SanDisk, whatever this drive is called, things you need to know before you buy, right? So when you do that planning beforehand, it can also help you target the traffic sources that you're trying to go for in a more efficient way as well, which can also help you grow your channel faster. But however you're going to frame things, it can be helpful for growth to put together a content strategy in general. If you are not familiar with what content strategy is, essentially, it's where you plan, create, and publish your content with intention. Okay, so it's more detailed than that, but usually, you know, it's just based on intention. So you give each video a purpose is the idea. So the whole idea with a content strategy and putting together a content strategy and not just saying, oh no, it's another week, I got to make a video, but thinking out, okay, for the next 30 days or for the next 90 days, what am I going to publish? And how is that content going to work together on my channel to keep pulling people back in? So basically it helps you publish content in an order that makes sense for your viewers to watch videos back to back, because then you're planning it, right? And you're like, okay, so if I'm going to publish this video on the first week of the month, then the second video that I'm going to publish next time, maybe it's going to be the perfect fit for the people that watch that video, or maybe it's going to be a perfect fit for another high performing video on my channel right now that's also bringing in a lot of viewers. And then when I'm publishing these videos, is there a way that I can build a playlist around these so that I can drive people into these playlists for binge watching, right? And when it comes to your content strategy, it also helps you better understand how you're going to have people flow through your content as well. So in addition to saying, I'm publishing this video for this purpose. So like in my case, for example, my content calendar, when I give videos a purpose, I have money videos, which are videos that I make for the purpose of generating, you know, affiliate revenue or something like that. I've also got sponsored content to where, you know, it's a sponsor obligation. I have content that is literally, I have a drop down in my content schedule that says people need to hear this. And that's the whole purpose. So basically that content by itself is for that purpose. My live streams are to nurture my community and to answer, you know, to provide a different type of value where I can answer questions one-on-one and give people very specific info to the problems that they're having. So, you know, that's the purpose of that. But anyway, like everything that you publish should have a reason behind it and intention about, okay, this is why I'm making this video so that it can serve this particular purpose. This video is to nurture my community. This video is to grow my subscriber count. So I'm making that video to grow my subscriber count based on other videos that I have on my channel that have also typically converted subscribers at a higher rate for me. Once you get into the YouTube Partner Program, if you're not already, the same exact thing happens where it's like, okay, if I'm trying to generate more ad revenue or raise my RPMs, let me go in and look at the content on my channel that typically performs better and makes me more ad revenue. Then in that particular case, the purpose of some of those videos that you would publish over that 90 days would be like, okay, I'm going to make these particular videos because they also typically drive me more ad revenue, or I'm going to make these videos because they typically drive me more affiliate revenue, or whatever the thing is. But the idea is to just have that intention to where you know that you're publishing videos for certain purposes that also will help you when it comes to understanding video performance. Because if you're publishing a video just for the views, then in that particular case, you probably are over time are going to develop the content in your channel that you are going to understand, or you're going to know, okay, typically when I pull that lever and I make that type of content, people typically respond to it and I get a lot of views. You're going to know that. And then the content that has other purposes, you're going to know that too. And you're going to say, okay, well, when I publish this video, maybe it's not going to do great out of the gate. And I know that. That's fine. However, because I'm targeting it towards YouTube search, and this is going to be a popular thing people are going to be talking about for a long time, this video is going to drive viewers and subscribers for like years to come. Same exact thing. I'm making this video of this review on this product, or where I mention this product or whatever, for the purpose of driving revenue. I'm going to target that particular piece of content for recommendations first, and then I'm going to change it up after that initial promotion period, and I'm going to re-optimize it for search so that I can hopefully end up in search results, so then I can drive revenue for a long period to come. But the idea is to giving everything intention. But your content strategy will decides what playlist that you're going to add certain videos to and what playlists that you're going to create in general. It's also going to decide what formats that you publish and when you publish them. So for example, when are you live streaming, if you're live streaming at all, if it serves any purpose for you or not. When are you publishing videos? When are you publishing videos that are going to drive you more revenue? When are you going to publish the videos that are going to nurture your community more and help people get more attached to what it is that you're doing? Those types of things are things that you need to be thinking about. They also help lead people into specific content at the end of your videos, because when you are putting together your content strategy, right? One of the things that you think about here is you think, okay, if I'm putting together this content strategy, then that means that I'm going to know the content that I'm going to be publishing over the next 30 or 90 days. I'm also already familiar with the content that I have on my channel that is in my library. So because of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to say, okay, this particular video here that I'm making, I'm going to, once my video comes to an end, I'm going to recommend that people go and watch this video over here. And then on the next video, I'm going to recommend they go watch this video, or that they go into that previous video, which will then send them somewhere else, right? So you literally start mapping out the flow that people can have through your content. Not everybody's going to take it, but for the people that do, they're going to be binge watching your content, which is going to help you get more views, get you more watch time, which will get you monetized faster. It's going to help you grow your channel faster overall. But most importantly, a content strategy also helps you be intentional about what it is that you're publishing. Because I know a lot of content creators, like I said, I've been doing this for 9 years. I've worked with a lot of content creators. I've known a lot of content creators. I'm a content creator myself. So when it comes to your content strategy, like a lot of people will just like, they're just living week by week. But when you have some type of game plan, it helps you be more intentional about what it is that you're doing. And it also helps you make sure that you're tracking everything the right way. And it also helps you be able to gauge like, okay, when I'm doing these things, it's not working. So I need to make a change in my content strategy. And I need to, adjust things in order to get things back on track if that's what I'm trying to do right now. Personally, I found it's best to plan 90-day cycles, but for some people, 30 is the best, just based on the content that they're making, because it's more difficult content to make. But if you want to make your channel get big as fast as possible, it's also important that we got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is video performance, right? So when it comes to video performance, you can't shortcut this. Right? You cannot shortcut video performance. If you're publishing videos and people are not watching those videos for any competitive amount of time on YouTube, then you're not going to get far. Like, it doesn't matter how many videos you flood the platform with. It doesn't matter any shortcuts you try to take or anything like that. No matter what you do, if you aren't working on the skill sets of making better content, then you're going to have a hard time. So, one of the things when it comes to being a content creator is it looks easy from the outside, right? It looks really easy from the outside. But once you actually get into it and you start doing it, and I'm sure a lot of people here, I'm sure you can, resonate with this. But once you get in, you start doing it, you're like, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought, right? This is tough. And the way that you get over that is by developing the skills that you need around it. So, start watching videos on editing, start watching videos on communication, start watching videos on presenting. Even if you're doing voiceovers, even if you're not on camera, if you're doing gaming content and you're not on camera, still watch videos on communication and presenting. They will help you in a massive way, and they will help you do better on YouTube. Watch videos on design. Watch videos that'll help you make better tutorials. Watch videos on processing imagery. Like, when you take a photo, AI is going to help us with a lot of this stuff really quick. But like when you take a photo, you can put up a photo that looks like garbage in your thumbnail, which kind of, represents the content in that way. And it creates the expectation from the outside that there's a good chance that it's going to be a garbage video behind that garbage photo that they're putting in the thumbnail. If you learn how to make the photos look better and how to take better photos, then you're going to be able to, present everything that you present in your thumbnails is going to look even better. And you're going to start to understand, if you're watching videos on photography concepts and videography concepts and design concepts, then you're going to start learning about, hey, when I'm making videos and I'm in the frame and I'm in the middle and I have just a little bit of headspace, then it makes everything look good. But if I'm like sitting down here, then everything's like really weird and awkward. Or if I'm like here, everything's weird and awkward. But if I come over to about here and I turn this way just a smidge, then it makes this a little bit more comfortable instead of it being awkward, right? So you learn all of those things through developing the skill sets, right? So if you want to have a big channel, you need to make sure that you're studying your audience retention reports with every video that you publish, even if you're not hardly getting any views. Just look at them and try to understand what it is that you're seeing and try to look for little details. Okay, if people are dropping off here, what am I doing before they leave? And if you can't figure out anything that you're doing, then in that particular case, you might just need to add something like a pattern interrupt in order to get people through, that particular part. For me, I have to do stuff like that because the way that I communicate, if you can't tell from watching this, is I typically just talk, right? And I have very little space in my videos. However, because of that, when I introduce pattern interrupts, it typically helps me keep viewers engaged for a longer period of time because it can kind of burn people out just listening to somebody just sit there and hammer on for, a period of time. So, those types of things are really helpful. But you also want to pay attention to how people are clicking on your videos, or how they're not clicking on your videos. So inside of your YouTube analytics, you have a traffic sources report. Never look at just that quick view for your click-through rate. So if you go into your quick stats, which is the default stats that you see, you're going to see an upside down triangle thing. A performance funnels is what they call that. But basically, it's going to show you your click-through rate there. That's averaging your click-through rate across the different traffic sources, and it's very misleading. So because of that, what you want to do is you want to go into your traffic sources and you want to say, okay, if I'm trying to get my views from home pages, how are people responding to this on home pages? Compared to the impressions, like what is my click-through rate on home pages? If you're trying to get more traffic in YouTube search, okay, what is my click-through rate on YouTube search? Compared to, my videos that have typically performed well and, that kind of stuff. But the idea is to make sure that you are paying attention to your stats because, and a lot of, you'll see other creators that'll be like, oh, don't worry about your stats, just make good content. Well, in order to learn how to make good content, you pay attention to your stats so you can learn how people respond to what it is that you're doing, and then you can adjust from there, right? So because of that, just make sure that you are that you're looking at just a few things. Just to start, if you're new and you're like, man, there's so much in there and I don't want to be overwhelmed by it, no problem. Make sure you're looking at your audience retention reports. Make sure that you are looking at your absolute retention, right? Because here, let me show you something else. Make sure that you're looking at your absolute. Why is this not going? Oh, am I going to have this hang up thing again? There we go. So what YouTube says or what Google says is that Broadly speaking, relative watch time is more important for short videos, and absolute watch time is more important for longer videos. Okay. So when it comes to your videos, what you want to think about, and I'm just waiting for this thing to go away. There we go. So what you want to do is you want to look in your audience retention reports, and you want to try to get those viewers that are interacting with your content to watch for as long as you possibly can. And that is the game. If you're a gamer and you're like, man, you know, this YouTube stuff is hard, it is, but just look at it like it's a game. And just be like, okay, this is how people are responding. What do I have to do, right? In order to get to this next level here, in terms of my average view counts, what do I got to do? And then start studying your audience retention reports and start looking for those patterns that you look for and that you learn when you're, you know, playing new games. Take that same exact approach. But for everybody here, look at that absolute retention, right? Which is the default view that you're going to see in your audience retention reports. And then if you're on a computer, there's a drop down that you can click, and it'll say compared to other videos. This is how you can tell how you're competing with other content on YouTube of a similar length. So your absolute, again, just as a reminder, that's how people are responding to your videos second by second on average. And then the drop down that says compared to other videos is showing how competitive you are of other content of similar length. So using those two together, what's going to happen is you're going to be like, okay, my absolute retention is going to show me where I need to improve. My compared to other videos is going to show me how well I'm performing against other videos on the platform. So if you notice, okay, you know what, my retention isn't horrible, and my compared to other videos, I'm actually way above average, then in that particular case, you want to go and look at your click-through rate, because people are enjoying your videos, but they're probably just there's not enough people clicking in to come in and enjoy your videos. And that's where the fail point is, right? So when you start paying attention to your audience retention, you start paying attention to your click-through rate across the different traffic sources, and you find that in advanced mode of your YouTube analytics. I've got a short on my channel that shows you, and I got a link to my channel in the description, but I have a short on my channel that shows you how to find that within like a few clicks. But if you focus on your audience retention, you focus on your click-through rate, and you focus on like how many people you're getting to the end of your videos and what they are doing when they get to the end of your videos. So for example, at the end of your videos, you want to make sure that you're driving people into additional content instead of just trying to get them to subscribe, right? It's more important these days on YouTube to send people into additional content, because if YouTube detects that people are enjoying your content, meaning they're watching one video and then they're going to watch another one, then YouTube will just chase them around YouTube trying to recommend them more of your content. Way more important. So make sure that you are focused on that as well. And then of course, work on the skills that we were talking about, because, you know, if you want to take your channel from a small channel to a big channel, it requires you, turning into somebody that can be able to visually identify, that's a good thumbnail, that's a good video. When I publish this, people are probably going to respond well to it. When I publish this, they're probably not going to respond that great. However, the reason, because I have my content strategy, so the reason I'm actually publishing this one is for this other purpose. You know, like you'll get more familiar with those types of things, but you have to work on your skills in order to be able to see all of the stuff that that I'm talking about. So now we are going to do a quick Q&A because I'm 6 minutes over the time here, and I don't want to abuse my time on the TubeBuddy channel here. But first, I just want to thank the TubeBuddy team for letting me come on the channel and share this information with you. But if anybody has a question, just go ahead and put a Q in front of your question, and that will help me identify that it's for me and not just a side conversation. But just put a Q in front of your question, and then I'll answer the first handful that come in. Okay, really quick. So Jet Reels says, can you show how to find your audience retention level? Sorry, I just joined. So there's two places. So if you're on a computer or a mobile device, you can get to it the same. On a mobile device, all you have to do is click on your content tab. And then once you click on your content tab, you can go into, whatever video. And then once you click into that video, the next thing that you'll do is you will go and you'll click on video performance. And then once you click on video performance, then you just scroll down the page, and then you're going to see your audience retention report. That's what it looks like on a mobile device, but you're limited there. They do not show you on a mobile device compared to other videos. So because of that, what you want to do on your computer is you want to also go into content. Then you want to click on the video in question. Then you want to click on analytics. And then when you scroll down there, you'll see your retention. And then once you click into that, you have to actually click into the little see more. And then when you click into the see more, then you're going to see the graph. It just kind of widens out. And then there's going to be a little drop down over on the left-hand side. When you click on that, you're going to see the option for compared to other videos. There's another option in there too that shows you specifically where people are leaving in your video. But the absolute retention and the compared to other videos, those two are the most important. And we'll just show you, kind of how competitive you're being and how people are responding. Let's see here. So I'm going to go and look for questions here. Okay. Do hashtags and tags still work? So when it comes to hashtags, there's still results pages for hashtags, which means that some people still click on hashtags and they'll still find additional content through that. So you can use hashtags for discovery. Keep in mind that the limit, I believe it's up to 60 now. It used to be 15, but now it's 60 hashtags that you can have in your video descriptions, but they have to be hashtags. When it comes to tags, according to YouTube, tags don't really matter, but they haven't removed that box, and they use language around the tags that says, tags aren't important, but put in misspellings and things like that. Well, if people can use the tags for misspellings, then that means that it's possible that the tags are still having some type of impact. So my rule when it comes to tags, don't spend any time on them. So use TubeBuddy, use their tagging tool. They just recommend tags, and then you can just tap the tags and then they'll just go right in the box. Don't spend much time thinking about it. Just use whatever is relevant to the video and then move on. As soon as it 100% doesn't matter, YouTube will remove that box and we won't be able to use it. I'm not even a coder, but I know how to comment out functions. So if I can do it, then surely their team can do it. So when it's not important anymore, it's not going to be there. Icy Cole says, do you have any advice for standing out and making unique videos in a super popular niche like Minecraft, where most people are doing the same type of videos like 100 days? Yeah, like when you come into a niche that's got a lot of creators like that, the first defining thing that's going to be different, of course, is that you're doing it and with your perspective and the things that you like and the things that you think are funny and the things that you think are cool and the things that you think will be interesting. So that part of it is going to help you stand out. But in addition to that, just thinking like, okay, if everybody's just doing like normal builds, can I do speed builds, which I'm sure, because so many people do Minecraft content that there's people doing speed builds. Can I do stuff like, how high can I build? Maybe everything that I build is, super high. But just trying to find things like that is kind of the approach that you want to take. But in a space like Minecraft, it's pretty competitive. So because of that, I would just spend tons of time researching other channels that are doing Minecraft. Look for things that people, and take note of things that people are doing to stand out, so that you can start compiling that and then saying like, okay, these are things that they're doing, that are different than all the other, normal Minecraft channels. So based on these, can I draw any inspiration from, this list of things for something that I might be able to do myself? Let's see here. So question, never hear about sports cards and dice gaming channels. What's your thoughts on it as a niche? As long as people, enjoy the content, as long as they respond to it, it's fine. Like, anything that you publish on YouTube, as long as there's people that are interacting with it and enjoying it, it's fine. And if you are interested in it, it's a really good chance there's some other people that are interested in it as well. I'm not sure in terms of the potential, because I've never worked with any channels like that. And I don't watch content like that. So I'm not sure, without doing the research, of the potential for those types of channels in terms of like how big can they get. I don't know what the biggest channel is that's doing, that type of content. But if you have any channels in that space that are big, that tells you that, it is something that people enjoy and that you can also grow your channel to be big. So let's see here. Stanley says, what are the odds that we can talk to YouTube about adding traffic sources option to their upcoming A/B testing tool? Yeah, that would be great. That would be absolutely great. So I have access to the A/B testing tool, and it's pretty sweet. I actually didn't use it on the video that I published today. That particular video, I'm going for search for that one, so it's underperforming right now. But I'm just trying to make that one just crystal clear from the outside, because YouTube is slowly letting more people into Brand Connect. So that one's more of a positioning thing. We'll see how it does over time. But that one's just like how to, like things to keep in mind if you're going to be using Brand Connect. But yeah, I wish that they would show us that type of information. But one thing I can say, Stanley, that's really cool about TubeBuddy is the path that I'm recommending is if you're just targeting recommendations, once you get YouTube's A/B testing tool, then just use YouTube's. But if you're somebody that's being more strategic and you're like, hey, I'm trying to target YouTube search with my content so I can get those long-term gains and that stable traffic, then use YouTube's first. And then that will get you through, the initial recommendation response, and then use TubeBuddy to A/B test against that recommendation thumbnail that was the winner there, and see inside of TubeBuddy, because TubeBuddy shows the traffic sources, and then that would show you inside of TubeBuddy which one performed better in search, so that you can make sure that the thumbnail that you're making is going to perform well in recommendations, plus it's going to perform well in search as well for those of you that are being more strategic. What would be the best strategy for video podcasts, says JL Bumbly, the anti-guru. So when it comes to podcasts, of course, you want to make sure that you're always optimizing for topics, not for guests. One thing that podcast channels mess up a lot is they will optimize around the guest. If the guest is super famous, it's great. But if it's somebody that is just kind of like a little bit known, optimizing for that person means that you're making the qualifier for that video to be interesting, that people have to know that person. However, when you optimize around the topic, there's tons of people that are interested in all kinds of different topics. So because of that, when you optimize around the topic, you'll get a better response unless the person's super famous. When it comes to the strategy for publishing the content, of course, it's going to depend on the cadence that you are putting the content out. But I would definitely also be making shorter clips from the podcast. There's actually a tool called Opus Clip right now that is amazing. So basically what you can do with this, I made a video on my channel about it, but what you can do with Opus Clip is you can take one podcast, take the URL of the YouTube video, or you can just upload the video directly. But you take the URL, you drop it into Opus Clip, and then you hit go. And then let's say you have an hour-long podcast, it'll give you like 30 clips. So my 3-hour stream, I get like 47 clips. So in your case, you would get roughly, we'll say 20 clips, give or take, that you would get on your podcast, and you can start uploading those as shorts. And then they also have the option to make 16:9 content that they're testing right now. As soon as that rolls out, then what you'll be able to do there is that same thing, but then you'll also get shorter videos. So you'll get maybe like a 3-minute video or a 5-minute video. You can also start publishing those as well. So the idea here is that you have a podcast, I'm going to guess that's like most podcasts where it's like 30 minutes to an hour. And because of that, you have this expectation, right? To where it's like, okay, if I'm going to click on this, I've never heard of this podcast before, never seen this person before, don't know anything about any of these people in this podcast, but they're expecting me to listen to this for an hour, right? On YouTube, that's a big ask, right? If they're listening through, one of the podcast platforms, it's a little bit different because, you're conditioned to that as a user of a podcasting platform. But when it comes to YouTube, it's a little bit of a different ask. So when you have your long podcasts, if you make shorts that are, just doing clips from your podcast for the people that find those interesting, and you can use Opus Clip for that. And for the people that find that interesting, then they can follow through the link and just go right into the long form podcast and listen to the whole episode, because you have a link that you can put directly on YouTube Shorts now that drives them into the long form content. In addition to that, when you make the 16:9 versions of the highlights of your live stream, just like Joe Rogan does, then in that particular case, you're also making more easily consumed content so that people don't have, so you're not asking as much in terms of people's time, and they can test the waters and be like, oh, hey, are they funny? Are they interesting? Are the things that they're talking about things that I'm into? That kind of stuff. It's just a little bit of a less of an ask. So because of that, if you're going to do a podcast, I would be flooding YouTube Shorts using Opus Clip. It burns captions on there and everything. It's awesome. But I would be using Opus Clip to flood YouTube Shorts, and I would also be making content that is 16:9, but just shorter highlights as well to get people introduced to what it is that you're doing, even if that means that you have to do like an extra intro for them or something like that. Another thing, make sure if you are on YouTube that you're also using the playlist option for podcast as well. So on YouTube, we have an option to where we can create a playlist around the podcast show. We can put up the square image for the podcast, and then, hey buddy, we can put up the square image for the podcast, and then it will show up in YouTube Music as well, and people can listen to it over there as well, which is another discovery mechanism to help people, find your content also. Hopefully that helps. How do you balance between your job and creating content? Because our jobs make it really hard to pick a schedule to film content, especially when our audience loves pranks. So for me, I've been doing this, for 9 years. So I went full time about 7 years ago, to where like, this is what I do now. So basically, I make videos. I do some advisory stuff for some different, software companies. I do that. That's just kind of like, we hop on a call maybe like once a month or something. And then, I have my own stuff. I've got like my own website that I use my channel to bring attention to, a couple of them actually in my own, some of my own products there. So, I focus on, all of that stuff. But before, when I was getting started and I was in your shoes, I just, at that time, I just did what it took, right? So basically what I did at that moment in time is, when I first started the channel, I was balancing my YouTube channel with a design service, because I had a design company with my brother. It was actually a media company. And then, I did the design stuff. But basically I had to balance those two things. And when I started catching the YouTube bug, I started spending more time on YouTube and less time on that. And then over time, I had to kind of make the call, because the content I was doing at that time, it just took forever, right? It took forever to make. So I was like, okay, this is taking me forever. So I'm hooked on YouTube. I want to do the YouTube thing, but I need to, make content, like I was making before I went on that other channel. And because it's more about sharing things that were, happening, in my reality, so to speak. So because of that, I started making content that was easier to make, so that I could still do the thing. The original plan was to get this channel doing well enough income wise that when I went full time, that I would start making content on that other channel, right, as the priority, and this channel would be secondary. But I started enjoying this content so much that I was like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna roll with this. So, but in terms of that balance, what I did is, there are many nights where, friends are like, hey, you want to go out tonight? I'm like, hey, sorry, I got this, thing I'm trying to do. Yeah, those types of things, just making, the sacrifices where you need to. Like, I'm a big believer that, that yes, you can fit everything in. But if you are after something, like if it's super important to you, and this is for Rhea and Kuez, if it's super important to you and you're like, you know what, we are wanting to take this seriously and we're wanting to take advantage of this, content thing, this YouTube thing, this content creator thing, we're wanting to tap into the $18 billion just influencer marketing industry. And that doesn't even count like, YouTube ads. It doesn't count affiliate marketing from content, anything like that. That's just influencer marketing. Like, I want to tap into that. Then in that particular case, I would go through a period of time. I would dedicate like, 3 months or something to just grinding it out, staying up, a little bit later, going to bed, a little bit later, whatever, not watching Netflix, not playing games, just focusing on the thing, until you can get to that point. But if you're doing prank videos, I would also try to, because it's going to be harder to monetize those prank videos unless you're getting a lot of views on them. So because of that, I would either double down on making a lot of content so that I could quickly learn through studying my analytics, the things that you need to improve on in the videos in order to get better results, so you can get those bigger view counts. And I would also be leveraging shorts like crazy on pranks, but, hard to get with the job. So I would focus on, those, but, since you are doing pranks, like if you're making other types of content, I'd be like, yeah, I would try to find recurring things that you could promote as an affiliate, and then just go hard and be aggressive on those. And then that would build up quickly. And then that would allow you to, that would be your escape. That'd be your parachute. You'd pull that, and then bam, now you can go full time into content. But with what it is that you're making, it's a little bit more difficult to monetize. Let's see here. Any key advice for getting 4,000 hours of watch time? I'm almost halfway there and finding it harder than getting subs. Yeah. So when it comes to watch time, that's going to come down to people watching your content for a longer period of time. So, make sure that people are getting, pretty far in your videos. In addition to that, live streaming can help. If you have any type of community that you think would come in and participate in your live stream, you can get a staggering amount of watch time from live streams, but you have to leave them public on the channel. In addition to that, make sure that you are building I don't know if you're here before when I was talking about the content strategy. In your case, if the goal is watch time, then when you're mapping out your content strategy for the next 90 days, I would think, okay, I'm going to have these live streams. I'm going to make these videos. And when I'm making these videos, I'm going to start thinking of playlists. I'm not going to think I'm making an individual video. I'm going to think I'm making a video that's going to go into a playlist, and I'm going to design a handful of playlists. And those playlists are all going to be 3 to 5 videos each. And the whole goal is going to be to get people to go from one video and then go into that playlist so that they can binge watch other videos about things that they care about. And then by doing that, also making sure that you are linking that playlist in your pinned comments, making sure that you're linking that playlist in your descriptions as well. Maybe even putting it in a card towards the end of your videos. If you go into your audience retention, you notice that you have a drop off somewhere, putting a card to that playlist just a little bit before that drop off to send people over, some people over into that playlist as well. Basically, the whole idea is to build playlists out so that you can create binge watching sessions and do live streams, but basically mapping it out and making it easy through using YouTube's features to add links to those different playlists that you're building out so that you can intentionally make it easy for people to find more of the content that they want to watch from you. Let's see here. What if I don't want to post on YouTube? It's fine. It's not for everybody. It's hard. A lot of people, they'll start and they come in, they're super inspired, but then they realize that it's actual work, and that turns a lot of people away. So it's not for everybody. You gotta be if you're going to do this for a long period of time, or if you're going to go all in on it, if you're going to go high risk like that, it's certain types of people that do that. Let's see here. So, and it's okay if you're not, one of those types of people. So the Bunbury Anti-Guru says, does using pronouns on your channel help? No, it doesn't matter. Chrono24 says, is quality or quantity more important when planning content output? I actually talked about this at the beginning of the stream today, so I recommend that you watch that part. But in a nutshell, you want to think of quality, because the way things work now on YouTube is you can upload 1,000 videos, but if they're not quality in the eyes of the viewers, in terms of people aren't coming in and they're enjoying that content enough, that will cause YouTube to recommend it to where it's not competitive. If you're publishing content that's not competitive, it doesn't matter how many videos you publish, they're still not going to be competitive. You're still not going to get recommended, when people are interacting with YouTube. However, if you focus on quality in terms of the viewer experience, I don't mean quality in terms of technical quality, in terms of having nice cameras and stuff. What I mean is, when people come into this, are they going to have a good experience? Am I giving them what they are expecting from how I package this video up in the thumbnail and title? Am I filling this video only with what they need in order to have a good experience, or am I adding a bunch of fluff just so I can get extra watch time and stuff? You want to make sure that you're designing everything around creating a good experience for the viewers. When you do that, then that's where quality starts kicking in. So quality, in terms of it being defined by the viewers, the reason for that is, you'll see videos on YouTube to where you're like, this video is garbage. This looks like crap. Why are people even watching this? I don't know why this video is getting a lot more views than me. Well, the reason for that is because viewers like it more, right? Viewers really respond to it. That's why, even though technically it doesn't look great. So when it comes to the technical side, and this is really important to think about, you only need, I try to make everything fancy because I just like how it looks. I'm into the tech. So because of that, I like to, make everything look nice. But when it comes to what you need, you only need, or have to, get the content to a point to where there's nothing that's distracting the viewer from the value that you're providing. So for example, if somebody comes into your video and your audio sounds like garbage because you're standing way back here and they can't really hear what it is that you're saying, then in that particular case, that's a distraction. And then people will start thinking about that instead of thinking about the content. If they come into your video and it's really dark or something like that, same exact thing. They're going to be distracted by that, and it's going to take away from the content. If somebody comes in and everything's just super loud and obnoxious, and that obnoxious thing isn't a good fit for the audience that you're targeting, same exact thing. All of that even though it might be what some other creators do, that's a huge distraction to those people and it pulls them away from the content. So in terms of technical quality, you just got to get things to the point to where when somebody comes in, they can just enjoy the content and they're not distracted by anything else. But when it comes to quality, in terms of uploading, it's determined by the viewers. So what you want to do is you want to get your quality to a point to where you are getting a consistent view count that you're happy with, and then from there decide if you want to ramp up, how many times that you're publishing. Let's see here. Have you heard anything else about YouTube's alternate audio channels? I'd love to be able to describe video right on YouTube and not have to rely on third party. Right now I use UDescribe. Yeah, so they're in the process of rolling that kind of stuff out. Like with all new features, they just test them, in different groups, and then they roll them out, to the general, creator sphere, whatever you want to call it, to everybody, over a period of time. So I'm not sure when everybody's going to get that. Let's see here. Can content creators add their own ads still, or does YouTube do it for the creator? So if you are not monetized, YouTube is putting ads on your videos and they are getting the money. If you are in the partner program and you're monetized, then in that particular case, you are getting a cut of the money then at that point. And then that's also when you can turn the ads off if you want. But at any time, you can talk about stuff in your videos and you can, promote things as an affiliate and those types of things as well, to bring attention to, different products or services if you wanted to. Top 3 metrics. Chrono24 says top 3 metrics to pay attention to when growing a channel. The first would be audience retention. The first would be click-through rate. Second would be audience retention. And then the third would be everything on your audience tab inside of your channel. You want to make sure people are coming back to your channel on a regular basis. You want to make sure that you are pushing into new viewership, those types of things. So yeah, people got to click and they got to enjoy the content. Those two things by themselves will take you to the moon, if you can do them at a high level. But the third would be the audience tab, just so you can better understand, who it is that's interacting with your content. Let's see here. And the other videos they're watching and, that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Looking for the cues so I can know it's for me. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about positioning the brand connect. Do you have any strategy recommendations or a video on this? I just published a video on my channel. I've got a link to my channel down in the description. It's like a 20-minute video though, but it's a video that goes into the details of what you're signing up for and some things to keep in mind as you're going through it. Let's see here. What if I don't? Okay. Oh, what if I don't want? Oh, maybe you said don't know what to post on YouTube. Yeah, if you don't know what to post on YouTube, if that was your question, Magic the Space Panda, then in that particular case, I would really sit down and try to figure out like what it is that you're offering, why it is that you're on YouTube, what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your channel, the impact that you're trying to make with your YouTube channel. Are you trying to make money from it? Are you just trying to grow it so you can get views for some reason? Are you trying to create like a brand of some kind? Like I would get really clear on what it is that you are trying to do. And then once you get clear on what it is that you're trying to do, then the next step in that is like, okay, if that's what I'm trying to do, then who am I doing it for? And then if that's who I'm doing it for, what content do I need to make for them? And then you know what content it is that you need to make for them based on things that they search for, things that they're interested in. You figure that out through, communities and stuff like that. Start this stream over once it's finished and watch this. I have an entire section on that here today. When do you know to select paid promotion? I wouldn't do the paid promotions on YouTube. And the reason for that is because the organic growth on YouTube is the best. It's the best on the internet in terms of bringing attention to yourself. All you have to do, and I know this sounds easy. It's like, oh, all you have to do to go to space is to build a rocket and, hop on it and then, fly to the moon. But All you have to do is learn how to get people to respond to your thumbnails and titles. And then when they come into your video, learn how to create a good experience for them through, what it is that you're putting in your videos and how you're editing your videos together, and the stuff that you don't put in your videos that you decide to take out. If you can create that good experience for them, then you won't need to do any paid promotion. One thing that people will do is they'll come onto YouTube and they'll run ads through Google, or they'll do the paid promotion, since that's, come out now. And when they do that, if they haven't learned to get a response organically, it doesn't help, because then what's going to happen is you start paying all this money to get in front of people, but you still haven't learned how to get people to click or how to get them to enjoy the content. So what's going to happen is anybody that's interacted with the content at that time, if YouTube recommends it to them and you still haven't learned how to get people to click, and you still haven't learned how to create an experience in the video content that is satisfactory for them or competitive for the platform, then in that particular case, you just wasted a bunch of money because you still haven't learned the fundamental things, right? So, and then once you learn the fundamental things, then you don't need to pay for the promotion anymore, right? So because of that, yeah, I would just remove that and be like, yeah, that's just a tab in there, and I'm not going to use it unless I'm a business owner and I'm literally trying to use this as an ad to get in front of people in my area or something. Do you have any tips to keep consistent, from Matt Fuddy? Yeah, so when it comes to consistency, I had many years, probably, I don't know, 6 years, where I was like rock solid consistent. Like hell or high water, I was publishing a video on Monday, Wednesday, and doing a stream on Saturday, even if that meant that I was streaming in a hotel lobby. Even if that meant that I was, walking down the street making a video while I was at a conference, even if that meant that I had to, stay up until the wee hours of the night and, edit a video in order to get a video out. Hell or high water, publishing a video. With that, it was just the commitment. It was discipline. And it was like, you know what, I'm doing this, and I built it into my lifestyle, and I made it to where that was the only thing that was acceptable. When 2020 hit, everything changed. Because of what happened during 2020, I was like, are my priorities straight? And then I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to, start changing how I operate now. I'm getting ready to ramp everything back up again because I'm getting ready to cross 900,000 subscribers. I'm going to do a push for 1 million. So I'm going to ramp everything back up again. But since 2020 hit, though, I've just done a big mental recalibration on like what is important to me, and like, understanding why I do different things that I do, and that sort of thing. But when it comes to being consistent, you got to just make it important. So, the best thing that you can do if you want to be consistent, you want to do this for a long time, is learn how to build the process of coming up with the video ideas, creating the content, and publishing that content. Build that into your lifestyle, so that right, just like your job, right? That at a certain time every day, you got to show up at this place, right? And that you're going to be there for a certain amount of time. And then maybe they'll let you off the chain to go grab some food, and then they'll yank you back in. And then, once all that's finished, then they'll let you free again. And then, that's your schedule. That's going to happen, and you show up every day, no matter what. Even if you're like, I don't feel great today, you still go, right? So when it comes to YouTube, if you want to be consistent, you have to have that same type of consistency by adding that same importance to it. So if you're trying to do something cool with your channel, and you're trying to make an impact of some kind, you're trying to grow your brand, or you're trying to go full time and transition from whatever it is that you're doing into being a content creator, then in that particular case, like, you have to make it a priority. If that means that sometimes you're not watching movies, sometimes you're not watching Netflix or playing games, or some of the nights where you would normally go out, you're going to stay in and do this instead, like whatever. If that's what it takes in order to build the practice in, and then you can modify from there. Because one of the hard things, and a lot of people don't know this when they start channels, but when you first start, it's so hard because you haven't learned yet. And I don't know where you're at on your journey, but like for new creators, like, you haven't learned yet how to even efficiently edit a video. Right? Like, you haven't learned about templates yet. You haven't learned about, where all the buttons are. You haven't learned about the things that you use every time that you can kind of slide around in your editing software to make sure that they're in a good position where you can quickly find them. You might not even know that tools exist, like this keyboard, for example, that has shortcuts written on it. So if you're editing something, you can just click on those, you can just click on you can look at the keyboard, and you can, use that to make sure that you're hitting the right buttons. You don't know tools like TubeBuddy exist that help you with stuff. Like you are, just kind of fresh into it. And because of that, everything moves really slow because you're learning how to do it. But then if you can walk through that fire and you can see it through, even if it, kind of sucks, if you can get through the other side of that, then you work more efficiently as long as you're being intentional about it. And you're like, okay, how can I do this more efficiently? Then, you'll work more efficiently. You'll be faster. You'll record for the edit instead of just recording a bunch of stuff and then like having to sift through everything and put it together. You'll be like, okay, I'm going to record this because this is essential for the video. Then I'm going to record this because it's essential for the video and so on. And you learn all of those things that really help you speed up the process in a massive way. And then it makes consistency a little bit easier. So, sometimes though, like, especially when you're getting started, just like me, I went through the same thing. It took a lot of just like, late nights and, stuff like that in order to get me through it. But one thing that can also be important is making sure that the content that you're making is also comfortable for your lifestyle. So some content takes, 3 weeks to make if you don't have a lot of time to put into it. Some content you can do it in an afternoon. So just making sure that you are making the right content that also fits into your lifestyle so that you can make sure that you can consistently do it for a long period of time. Tech Byte says, how do you convert long form videos into a format for social media such as TikTok and Instagram? There's a tool called Opus Clip for that. OPUSCLIP. Before you go there, go and watch my video that I have on Opus Clip on my channel. It's the blue thumbnail. It's the video that I published before last, and click on the affiliate link before you go in there. But yeah, with Opus Clip, you just take one long form video, you drop the link into Opus Clip. It's going to chop everything up, put captions on it. You can go in there and you can say, oh, I didn't like the start point. That video will show the entire tool and how to use it. But you can say, I didn't like the start point of this. So I will change where it starts and then I'll change where it ends to kind of tighten it up a little bit. If you have multiple people in there, for people that are on podcasts and stuff, it'll automatically switch between them or put one on top and one on the bottom, stuff like that. Really cool. But basically their AI just looks for those good places in your video that will make content. And then you can take those and then you can upload them to all the vertical platforms. Let's see here. Looking for those cues. Ty, what's going on? Hope that you are great. Nice to see you in here. Looking for cues. I have several videos that have high CTR and retention, but YouTube almost stopped pushing them. Why is that? So one thing that you want to look at is impressions. So if you don't have a lot of impressions on a video, and this is for real life with Ali. So if you don't have a lot of impressions on a video, it's really easy to keep your numbers relatively high. When you get a lot of impressions, that's where it starts getting challenging to keep high audience retention, to keep high click-through rate on, for different traffic sources, because you have a lot more people interacting with the content and everybody has different tastes. They have different ways they experience things. They have different opinions on what it is that you're doing that will cause them to watch longer or not, those types of things. So the more people that interact, the harder it is to keep the numbers up. But if you have, videos that have high CTR, the very first thing I would do is I would just look at I would look at the not the retention, but the impressions that you're getting. I'm going to go to your channel real quick. Yeah, so like in your case, these videos with like 1,000 views on them, those particular videos, you should start getting some good information there. You've got another one here with like 5.3 thousand. So here's what you want to do. Okay, this is great. So you have one with 5.3 thousand on it. I'm going to hit your popular real quick and see what you've got. So you got one with 45,000 on it, 40,000. Okay, you're cruising here. You got 3,000 subscribers. You're doing great. Okay, so here's what you want to do. These videos on your channel that have 40,000, 45,000, 10,000, 8,000, 6,000, 5,000, go into those videos and you can sort by date range. So you can say like, okay, when this video was first published, how did it do in the first 24 hours? How did it do in the first 7 days? That kind of stuff. So what you want to do is you want to start looking at the impressions that you got on these videos over time that already performed well and look at the retention on them and things like that. So you can start getting an idea of what performance looks like on the channel in terms of the numbers. That way, if you are like, okay, this thumbnail has a high CTR, but these other ones at this point in time, they either had a high CTR or they didn't, and retention, and then they went on to perform very well, or they didn't, for some of the other videos, then that will start helping you create a baseline of what performance looks like on your channel. And then if you can do that, and you do all of this in advanced mode in your YouTube analytics, but if you do that, you're going to start being able to identify when you're having problems. So for example, if you're like, man, it's been a week, and by the time, my performing videos had this many impressions, they were doing like way better in terms of the click-through rate. So maybe I need to kind of repackage this since people aren't really responding to it that great. But before you do that, make sure that when you are looking at those videos in question, the 45,000, 40,000, and so on, make sure that the traffic that those were getting were from the places that you're trying to get traffic from. So when you're looking at the click-through rate, for example, you want to make sure that you're looking at it for, like, let's say home pages. Because, for example, when you published this 8 months ago, it might have sucked out of the gate. I don't know, but I'm saying it could have sucked out of the gate, but people might have responded well to it in search, and that could be what caused it to get 45,000 views, right? So you want to make sure that you are looking at that information as well when you're doing that comparison, so that you can start to, so you can make sure that the things you're coming up with are accurate, but so that you can also, create a baseline that will help you, be able to make changes when you need to, or identify that you need to make a change. So, for example, on mine, on my channel, I know that if I publish a video and that video does not have a 5% click-through rate or higher at 100,000 impressions, then I need to change it. So if they do better, then those videos usually do better as long as people respond to the video content well. But at the click-through rate by itself, if it doesn't have that 5%, then in that particular case, it's the red flag to me at 100,000 impressions on home pages specifically. That's my red flag that I need to make a change of some kind. All right. Oh, Ty, thank you for that. So basically she said that the channel wasn't asking about paying to be promoted on YouTube. They wanted to know when they have to disclose when they have been paid or gifted something to promote. Thank you. So when it comes to that disclosure, if somebody pays you money or they give you something in exchange of mentioning them or making a video about them, that's when you have to check that box. If you're doing something yourself or you have your own products or your own business that you're bringing attention to, you do not have to disclose then. But if you are, incentivized in any way to mention or, showcase something in your video, then that's when you have to disclose that. All right. And on that note, I want to thank everybody for hanging out here today. We went way over. We're like 40 minutes over. So I hope that this is okay on the TubeBuddy side. I hope they're not like, come on, Nick, you got to get out of here. But, first I want to thank you guys for, coming and hanging out in the stream today. I hope that you got some value of this. In terms of the information in this stream, there's a lot of really good info in here. So if you came in late, I recommend that you do come back and watch it on the replay, even if you just listen to it in the background where you're doing something else, because there's a lot of really good information in here that will help you do better on YouTube. So make sure that you do that. I also want to thank TubeBuddy and the whole TubeBuddy team for letting me come on here and, share this information with you and answer some questions and stuff. Always an honor to be here on the TubeBuddy channel. TubeBuddy's the best. So, thank you guys for what it is that you do and the value that you add to the community as well. Everybody have a fantastic rest of your week. A link to my channel is down in the description. I do live streams every Saturday, so you can come hang out with me or me and my brother when we do them together. And have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.